Welcome on back, everybody, to the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. This is another video for you today. We've got the 2024 ladder prediction. There's 3 rounds to go. This was probably going to be our last ladder predictor video. So we'll be running through each and every game that's left and seeing where it leaves every team, basically. Yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Why not? Come join the fun. We have 2 podcast episodes go live every week. One on Monday, one on Friday. We also have plenty of other videos going live on the YouTube channel and everywhere else as well, to be honest. We have plenty of social medias, so go check them all out. All Aussie Rules everywhere. Let's jump straight into this. First up, this weekend's footy. We got Sydney to beat Collingwood. Brisbane to beat GWS. West Coast somehow coming up over North Melbourne. I'm not sure how that happened, but it has. Fremantle to beat Geelong. Essendon to beat Gold Coast. Port Adelaide beating Melbourne. Hawthorn beating Carlton in an upset there. St Kilda beating Richmond. And the Doggies knocking off Adelaide. That would have our ladder after round 22, sitting with Sydney on top, Brisbane second. Port Adelaide, Fremantle, Bulldogs, GWS, Geelong, Essendon, Carlton and Hawthorn still having a chance in 9th and 10th to make finals. Collingwood's season effectively over, and as is the case with Melbourne, Gold Coast, St Kilda, Adelaide, West Coast, North Melbourne and Richmond. We then have round 23 football, starting off with Sydney to beat the Bombers. And really make it difficult for them to make finals. Gold Coast to beat Melbourne. Fremantle to beat GWS in Sydney is a bit of an upset. I mean, they did beat Sydney in Sydney 6 weeks ago, however many weeks ago it was. Brisbane beating Collingwood in Melbourne. Port Adelaide to beat Adelaide in the showdown. Geelong beating St Kilda. Bulldogs beating North Melbourne. Hawthorn to beat Richmond. And Carlton to beat the Eagles. That has this as the ladder now. We've got Sydney still on top. Still potentially could drop down to second. Brisbane, Port Adelaide, Fremantle in the top 4. Bulldogs right on the brink there. A win and a loss to a couple other teams in the top 4 could get them into the top 4. Geelong, Carlton, GWS. Each of those 2 still a risk of dropping below either Hawthorn or Essendon if they lose in the last week. And Hawthorn, Essendon 9-10, Collingwood 11th, and officially fully out of the finals race. Gold Coast 12, Melbourne, St Kilda, Adelaide, West Coast, North Melbourne, then the Tigers. The final rounds action, we've got Brisbane beating the Bombers, Carlton beating the Saints. We got Geelong beating West Coast, Hawthorn beating North Melbourne. Just a side note, pretty much this whole round when I did it was blowouts. It doesn't look like the most exciting final round. As you can see, it's pretty much top 8 team versus bottom 8 team all the way along. The only one that isn't is Fremantle, Port Adelaide. But continuing on, Collingwood to beat Melbourne, Gold Coast to beat the Tigers, Bulldogs beating GWS, which would knock them out of the finals, which is a huge story right there. Sydney beating Adelaide, and Port Adelaide to knock off Fremantle over there. That would be a huge result because that would also knock Fremantle out of the top 4. So this would be our final ladder. Sydney holding on to top spot. They've had a little bit of a crinkle in time lately, so we'll see how that plays out. Brisbane holding on to second by half a game over Port Adelaide in third. As I said, Fremantle lose the final round, which drops them a couple spots. Both the Bulldogs and Geelong jump them. Bulldogs go into 4th, Geelong in 5th. Fremantle hold a home final, but an elimination final at that, in 6th. Carlton 7. Hawthorn sneak into the 8 after losing their first 5 games. Was it 5 or 6? However many games it was. GWS missed the finals after winning their first 5 games. Bombers 10, Collingwood 11, Gold Coast 12, Melbourne 13, St Kilda 14, Adelaide 15, West Coast 16, North Melbourne 17th, and the Tigers getting their first wooden spoon in many years. That would leave this as the finals matches, I guess. First up would be qualifying finals, Sydney hosting Bulldogs. And I have to say, I think the Bulldogs would win that. They beat Sydney in Sydney not that long ago. Geelong Hawthorn in an elimination final would be a cracker. Take us back to the 2007 days when they met in a grand final. I've got Geelong winning that, but it could go either way. Over in Optus Stadium, another elimination final, Fremantle Carlton. You'd have to back Freo over there, but depends what Carlton shows up, I guess. And then the final qualifying final would be Brisbane and Port Adelaide. You'd have to back Brisbane at the Gabba. They shouldn't lose that one, you wouldn't think. So, week 2 of the finals. Semi-finals, we got Sydney hosting Geelong. Would be an absolute cracker, that one. I've gone Sydney here. Rematch of 2022 grand final, obviously. Hopefully, for Sydney's sake, they can turn the result around there. Port Adelaide hosting Fremantle in Adelaide would be an absolute cracker as well. So I quite like the way that this final series has come out. It's got some interesting matchups. Port Adelaide win that one. Then we go to the prelim final. Bulldogs would be hosting Port Adelaide in Melbourne, and it'd be hard to see Bulldogs, losing that one. And the other prelim final would be Brisbane Sydney at the Gabba. Brisbane to win that, leaving us with a Bulldogs versus Brisbane grand final. I've gone Bulldogs to win it all. Who would have seen that coming 5 weeks ago? Both Bulldogs and Brisbane outside of the 8 looking in, and all of a sudden I've gone and put them as the top 2 teams to finish first and second and make the grand final. Crazy finish to the season ahead. Obviously, plenty of things can happen. Plenty of results will change it. It's all about being in form at the right time. GWS have a really tough run, 3 games, but if they win any of them, they're probably safely through into the finals. Same for, not exactly the same, but Hawthorn need to win 2 out of 3 probably. Essendon and Collingwood would need to win 3 probably each to make the finals. It's going to be an interesting run. And as for the top 4, Sydney sitting on top at the moment, but anything could happen. Brisbane, they could still finish top of the ladder here, but I mean, if they fall apart over the next couple of weeks, they could drop as far as even out of the top 4. Port Adelaide, Bulldogs, Geelong, Fremantle are probably the 4 teams. That's 4, yep. 4 teams fighting for 3rd and 4th on the ladder. Could go anyway. It's going to come down to that last game. Crucially, could be huge. Port Adelaide, Freo, over in Freo. But any one of those 4 teams could finish 3rd, and any of them could finish 6th. Or even lower, depending on what else happens. Technically, GWS, as it is, also still a chance for top 4. A strong chance, but they do have a few tough games, so we'll see what happens there. That's my ladder predictor. It's not 100% what I thought would have come out when doing it, but that's what it was, and that's how it is. As I said at the start of the video, this was a short one, so you probably haven't forgotten, but don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know where you have teams finishing in the 8 or missing the 8. Let me know where I've gone really wrong. I appreciate you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out all my socials, and I'll catch you on the next video. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.